Hi, this is Kit Hard, Instructional Technology Supervisor for Port Huron Schools, and I'm just going to go through a couple Moodle tips if you have a Florida virtual course, just some basic setup recommendations to get you started. So the first thing I'm going to show you is just to check your links and make sure that the content that we've copied over from the original Florida virtual is live and working. Then I'm going to show you how to turn on completion tracking, which is going to let you look at whether or not students are accessing the material and also gives you some ability to um, look at whether or not they've interacted with assessments and received grades or turned things in. Then I'm going to show you how to just move the assessments and assignments into kind of a working order. Then I'm going to show you how to copy the lesson assignment directions out of those lessons and into the assignment module so that those directions are right there inside of the directions, as well as then creating a link that goes back to the lesson from the assignment module so that you can kind of create a workflow for your students so they're not having to try to have go back and forth quite as much or make the back and forth a little easier. So those will be the basic pieces that I'm going to show. So let's go take a look at an online Moodle course with Florida virtual content. So like I said, I'm going to recommend that you click into at least the links you know you're going to be using immediately and making sure that the content opens. I happened to click on a link, this one in particular. I clicked on it after I'd made the copy and it wasn't working. I was able to go and import that missing content and fix that. So if you click into anything and you notice that it's not working, contact me as quickly as possible and then I'll get that imported in. So just go through each just to make sure that those links are live before you get too far into this process. Then I'm going to suggest just going into one of the settings for your course and turning on conditional access. So I'm going to go over here to the administration tab and I'm going to click on edit settings. This is turned off by default, so you'll want to come down here to where it says completion tracking and you'll want to turn this on to yes. What that's going to let you do is track whether or not students have accessed the material on the most basic level. So for instance, this getting started lesson, we probably want students to look at it. We can't force them to read it, but we'd at least like to create some accountability and tracking. So we're going to click on edit and go to edit settings. And now because we have activity completion turned on in the course settings, we can come to the activity completion section of each activity. So the basic settings are do not indicate completion, let the students manually mark it as completed, or show completed when conditions are met. I usually recommend that teachers use this third option and then to check the box that says students must view this activity completed. So if they click into the activity, that's going to check off that activity as completed. Even though we know that that's not technically what it means to complete it, it at least gives you that tracking. On something like an assignment, you could also additionally check students must receive a grade for it to be completed. So if they are in the midst of working on the assignment, just because they've clicked into it doesn't mean that it's going to check the box. They'll actually have to have received a grade from you before the checkbox will be indicated. So I'm going to click Save and Return to Course. And now you'll see that there's this semi-dotted box with a check mark in it. And these will be checked dark once a student has actually clicked into an activity. So you may want to turn that on for all of these lessons. And then you may also want to turn that on for things like the assignment and then use that grade option as well so that the checkbox won't be indicated until you've issued a grade. And then this will also tie into another feature that's called conditional access, which I'll show in a later video, which lets you make certain activities locked until the activity that precedes it has been completed. The next piece that I want to show you is just repositioning or moving the assessments to match up against the lessons. So you can see here that these quizzes are matched up against the lessons already. But if they happen to still, for instance, in this area, this assessment is not matched up with this lesson. So we can use the drag and drop. Now it's working for me today, but sometimes it doesn't. So if you're having trouble with the drag and drop in the Chrome browser, you may want to make sure that you have the Firefox browser installed, and you might want to use that for editing your Moodle courses. However, today drag and drop seems to be working pretty well for me. You might also just want to do a quick indentation of those assessments just to create some organization of complete the lesson, then do the assessment. I'm also going to do that now with an assignment. So this 2.03 assignment, I'm going to layer underneath the 2.3 lesson. I'm going to move it to the right. So you can kind of see how taking these assessments from the bottom and matching them up with the corresponding lesson is going to help organize that for your students. And then if you are using the completion tracking and conditional access settings that unlock resources, this is a good way to lay out your course. The next thing I'm going to show you is taking the directions that are inside of the lesson and pasting them into your assignment to just make it easier. Because if you notice, when I click on this assignment, there are no directions here. It just says submit your assignment following the instructions from the lesson, which isn't really all that helpful. So instead, we're going to go into that lesson and we're going to find wherever those instructions are. So in all likelihood it's on page 5, but if it's not, locate it, and I'm going to just copy the assignment piece from here. And this may be a case where having your browser open in 2 different tabs could be handy, so that you could copy and edit without having to leave the content, and I'll show you why here in a second. So I'm going to go to the actual assignment now, and I'm going to do the edit for this. And beneath here, under the description, I'm going to paste it. So I've just pasted the directions into the assignment. And if you're wanting to retain more of the formatting, I'll make another video for that. But for now, just doing a Control V to paste it in, or right clicking and pasting, is probably going to be the fastest way. And then from there, we're going to want to link to the we're going to want to link back into this page for students. And what we'll want to do is we'll want to copy this URL, which will let them get back into the assignment a little quicker. Now let's take a look at how to add the directions from one of the learning modules into the assignment. I'm going to recommend that you open these up in separate tabs. So I'm going to edit this. I'm going to open this up in a new tab, and I'm going to go to Edit Settings. One thing that you'll need to do is that because this Florida virtual content is coming in from another provider, some of the settings are a little different for these assignment modules by default. You'll notice that under the description there's no editing tools for changing things like bold and underline or adding a hyperlink. So we're going to change this from Moodle auto format to HTML format, and then we're going to go down and save and display. And then we're going to go over to the administration and edit the settings for this again, and now you'll see that we have the editing tools that we need. I'm going to go back over to the lesson and open this up and find the directions for this assignment. So we'll assume that this is going to be on the last page, and here's the assignment. So I'm going to highlight the text in here, and I'm going to go back over to the assignment, and I'm going to paste it down below this set of directions, and I'll show you why in a second. So I'm going to paste that in, and you can see it's brought in all of the formatting and such from this post. And then the directions will be with the actual assignment. And then the last step that we're going to do is we're going to turn it here where it says following the instructions in the lesson into a hyperlink that would take students back to these directions specifically to just get them back there a little quicker. And I'm going to highlight the URL here, and then I'm going to go back to our instructions. And what we'll do is we'll highlight the place that we want to be hyperlinked, and we'll click on the hyperlink button, and we'll paste this in. And then I also recommend taking the time to check the open in a new window button, and we'll create that as a link. So let's go to save and display. Now this assignment has not just the ability to collect the assignment from the student, and they won't see all of these pieces as well, it'll be a little closer, but they'll have the actual directions that they need to follow, as well as a link that takes them back into the assignment. And that'll just help clean things up a little bit in the course for managing sort of the workflow of each assignment. Those are the sort of the basic tips for setting up this Florida Virtual that I think will be helpful. And if you have questions about what I'm demonstrating, please don't hesitate to contact me at khard@phasd.us.